Are you doing?
Welcome, everybody. Very happy to see everyone here at this Interfaith Zoom meeting we have every Thursday night. And a little later, I'll introduce our presenter, Paul Bailey, who will be talking about Indian spirituality through a Christian's eyes. And now I would like to hand over to Tracy, please.
Okay, thank you. So before we begin the meeting properly, we just want to pause and acknowledge that we are living on the land of Aboriginal people who have been obedient to God, to the Creator, for tens of thousands of years, faithfully caring for the land and caring for the waters and caring for all the animal life and the people upon it, and with a very deep faithfulness. So I always say it's an amazing accomplishment to be able to pass on through tens of thousands of generations that fidelity and faithfulness to being good stewards of the land. And so we want to pay our respects and acknowledge the elders, both in the past and the present, and to be grateful that we are benefiting from their efforts, and that we want to inherit that knowledge and be able to have a good grafting of everybody here in this nation. Thank you.
Oppressors on earth, withdraw your hands from tyranny, for I have pledged myself not to forgive any man's injustice. This is my covenant, which I have irrevocably decreed in the preserved tablet, and sealed it with my seal of glory. This is my covenant, which I have irrevocably decreed in the preserved tablet, and sealed it with my seal of glory, of glory, of glory, of glory, of glory. This is my covenant.
Oh, Son of Spirit, oh, Son of Spirit, the best beloved of all things in my sight is justice. The best beloved of all things in my sight is justice. Turn not away therefrom, if thou desirest me, and neglect it not, that I may confide in thee. By its aid thou shalt see with thine own eyes, and not through the eyes of others, and shall know of thine own knowledge, and not through the knowledge of thy neighbor. Ponder this in thy heart, how it behooveth thee to be. Verily, justice is my gift to thee, and the sign of my loving kindness. Set it then before thine eyes. The best beloved of all things in my sight is justice.
Justice has a mighty force. At its command, it is none other than reward and punishment for the deeds of men. By the power of this force, the tabernacle order is established throughout the world, causing the wicked to restrain their natures for fear of punishment. It deals besieges the station of men to commit tyranny. Rather, it behoveth him to observe equity and be a tie, give the raiment of justice under all conditions. Beseech thee, the one true God, that he may, through the power of the hand of love and kindness and spiritual education, purge and purify certain souls from the defilement of evil passions and corrupt desires, that perchance the evidences of injustice may be blotted out, and the splendor of the light of justice is shed its radiance upon the whole world. Tablets of Baha'u'llah, page 164, 170.
He is not thereby just because he hastily arbitrates. The wise man should investigate both right and wrong. The intelligent man leads others not falsely, but lawfully and impartially. That which is good for all and anyone, for whomsoever that is good for me, what I hold good for self, I should for all. Only law universal is true law. What is hateful to you, do not do to your neighbour. That is the entire Torah. As thou desirest that evils not befall thee, but to partake of all that is good, thou shouldst act in this spirit to thy subjects and to offenders.
Do not to others what yet do not wish done to yourself, and wish for others too what yet desire and long for. For yourself, this is the whole of Dharma. Masters, give unto your servants that which is just and equal, knowing that yet also have a master in heaven. O ye who believed, stand up firmly for God, as winners to fair dealing, and let not the hatred of others to you make you swerve to wrong and depart from justice. Be just. That is next to pity. And fear God, for God is well acquainted with all that yet do. If thou judge, judge in equity between them. For God loveth those who judge in equity.
Justice is not limited. It is a universal quality. Its operation must be carried out in all classes, from the highest to the lowest. Each man has been placed in a post of honor, which he must not desert. A humble workman who commits an injustice is as much to blame as a renowned tyrant. Thus, we all have our choice between justice and injustice. I hope that each one of you will become just and direct your thoughts towards the unity of mankind, that you will never harm your neighbors nor speak ill of anyone, that you will respect the rights of all men and be more concerned for the interests of others than for your own. Thus will you become torches of divine justice. Thus shall we rejoice in the Sun of Justice, which shines from the horizon of God. Abdul Baha, Paris Talks.
The word of God which the supreme pen hath recorded on the 6th leaf of the most exalted paradise is the following. The light of men is justice. Quench it not with the contrary winds of oppression and tyranny. The purpose of justice is the appearance of unity among men. The ocean of divine wisdom surges within this exalted word, while the books of the world cannot contain its inner significance. Baha'u'llah.
As forgiveness is one of the attributes of the Merciful One, so also is justice one of the attributes of the Lord. The tent of existence is upheld upon the pillar of justice and not upon forgiveness. So if at present the law of pardon were practiced in all countries, in a short time the world would be disordered and the foundations of human life would crumble. For example, if the governments of Europe had not withstood the notorious Attila, he would not have left a single living man. Abdul Baha.
Know thou verily that the essence of justice and the source thereof are both embodied in the ordinances prescribed by him, who is the manifestation of the self of God amongst men, if ye be of them that recognize this truth. He doth verily incarnate the highest, the infallible standard of justice unto all creation. Baha'u'llah.
My God, aid thou thy trusted servants to have loving and tender hearts. Help them to spread amongst all the nations of the earth the light of guidance that cometh from the company on high. Verily, thou art the strong, the powerful, the mighty, the all-subduing, the ever-giving. Verily, thou art the generous, the gentle, the tender, the most bountiful.
Thank you, Perry and readers, for the very interesting theme of justice. So I'm very happy to welcome our speaker, Paul Bailey. And Paul is the owner of Northern Beaches Accountants, a member of the Institute of Public Accountants. He's a member of Manly Life Saving Club, Warringah Masters Swimming Club, and captain of Patrol 5 at Manly Life Saving Club, and spiritual wayfarer. I like that last one. And the topic Paul is going to present to us today is Indian spirituality through a Christian's eye. Thank you, Paul.
My pleasure. Before I go into doing that, I'll just give you a quick, I guess, rundown on the purpose of my initial trip to India. Who here's actually, just raise your hand if you've been to India. Okay, all right. Oh, that's good. I'm glad not everyone put their. Oh, that's good. All right. So the purpose of my first trip, which was in December last year, is I have got an accounting firm, and since 2014, a lot of the work that I've got has been done by a firm in India. I've got a couple of full-time employees who do work for me over there. And in the 8 years that Vishwa and Shakil, their names are, been doing the work for me. I've never actually met them. I've only met them like this over Zoom before. So I thought it'd be good to actually just go over there and get on the ground, get to know them, get to know the business. But when I got over there, I was really surprised to learn that the company that I used to do the outsourcing of my work, it's actually got 400 employees. So from a spirituality point of view, I got to go into their offices a number of times, and I actually met nearly every single one of them and shook their hand and said hello and had a bit of a brief chat. But the first thing that got me about these people is in an office of, say, 400, that day I'd say I probably met about 240 of them. And they're that, what's the word? I can't find the word. To come and meet me, they were in separate buildings around this office complex. So they'd sort of come from one tower to another just to come into this office where I was to meet me. So just the respect they had for a foreigner and one that comes from a different background to them totally, I just thought was absolutely amazing. And the smiles that greeted me, the religious diversity, there were quite a number of things that really took me in the probably nearly 2 full days that I spent with them. I mentioned to someone today, when I look into a bank of computers, I'd see, say, 10 people who form a part of a work team looking directly at me. And I just noticed a lot of them were, you could tell it was quite obvious who the Hindu women were from the Bindis. There were Muslims, there were Christians, and they all worked together in teams of around 10, and they seemed to work very happily. And another thing I observed, which I know is very important to the faith, is I was really looking for evidence of equality between the men and the women over there. And I guess one way of gauging that is to just observe the way they interact with each other. And it certainly appeared to me, just watching them interact with each other, that they had a lot of respect for each other. I also, because I've been working with this company for so long and got to know so many people, I'm fairly familiar with advancement within this firm of 400. And it appeared to me that there's no barrier to promotion, whether you're a man or a woman in the organisation, which I found really, really encouraging. And I'm going to, after I finish speaking for just a brief time longer, you'll probably see about 60 pictures in the next 20 or 30 minutes. So you're not just going to be listening to me. Most of what we're going to be doing is looking at pictures and just checking out, going on the journey with me. When I definitely had a spiritual awakening during my first trip to India. Didn't take 2, it all happened in the first, I would say, 5 days for sure. But in the initial pictures I'm about to show you, it was taken on the last day of my first trip, after I'd spent all day in the offices of Axos in Chennai. And the first pictures I'll show you are of me cutting a cake with a young lady in the office. And the reason we're cutting the cake together is they just wanted to give me the bit of the pleasure and honour of cutting a cake, which was a major accounting award that they'd won in India. It wasn't just a small localised award, it was a major international or national award. But the way the director, Gaurav, who's around 32 years of age, and he's probably the brightest, if not amongst the brightest entrepreneurs I've ever met, the way he spoke about the people in his office, the men and the women, and how they all work together as teams to give the company the opportunity to win such a prestigious award. I found it was really heartfelt what he had to say, and it certainly was an indicator to me of the respect that people of all religions and sexes in that particular company definitely receive. So I'll show you some pictures now of my first ever visit to the company in Chennai. So just bear with me initially while I go to share my screen. I've got about 5 PowerPoints here. I've got to pick the right one. No, that's the wrong one. Here we go. All right. So I think, can you see my screen yet?
Not yet.
Okay. Here we go. How's that?
Yeah, that's good.
Good.
Excellent. All right. So the people you'll see in the photographs I show in the next 20 minutes or so, it is only coincidental. I arrived in, say, Chennai on, I think, something like the Sunday. I spent all that week traveling from Chennai. We flew to Delhi, and then we went across to Agra, and then later across and saw different towns between Agra and Jaipur. But I had you'll see a lot of pictures of 2 guys, they're 2 of the directors of this company, and the 2 guys who do work with me.
The screen sharing stopped there, Paul.
Oh. Back on again?
It's coming. Yeah, it's there.
Yeah, okay. So these people they've definitely been the catalyst for inspiring my journey of religious tolerance discovery in India. So I'm about to go to the first picture, I hope, of cutting a cake. I hope these pictures aren't going to take too long to load. Does that first one come up?
Not yet. Yeah, still on slide 1. Paul, can you hear us? Because I think you're frozen. Oh, you're entering again.
Okay.
Yeah, look, it looks like it's not able to cope with the video and the images you're trying to show. So
yeah.
I mean, I'll turn off my video. I don't know if others need to, if that would help.
We see how we go.
And it's not sharing at the moment.
Yeah, okay, yeah, I'll share now. I might have to change my game plan. How's that? You can see the Taj Mahal?
No, we saw that the words Taj Mahal, and we could see the pictures prepare on the next slide, but we're just seeing a vertical white line on a
Are you really?
On a black background.
Wow.
Okay.
How's that?
Yeah.
Yeah, we can see it now.
Okay. All right. I've taken it to my widescreen on there. I've pulled it across to my widescreen. All right. So seeing as that other page of the Exhaust people didn't work, I've just gone to another presentation. All right. So the first place we went to together was the Taj Mahal. And how many people have been to the Taj Mahal? And I'm not looking at hands going up. You can tell me, Siva, if you're on, can hear.
It was a place where Princess Diana was.
Yeah, yeah. You know the story of the Taj Mahal and how it came into existence?
I think the emperor built that temple for his wife,
Yeah, that's right.
who died young.
Yeah.
And Lady Diana was there sitting in front of the temple and by herself alone.
Oh, that was a very poignant picture. I remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll just show you some pictures of the day I spent, or the afternoon I spent at the Taj Mahal. But the thing to take in here is the Taj Mahal is actually a Muslim, I can't think of the word, it's more than a building, but anyway, it's certainly a Muslim site. But the number of Hindu people and people of various religions, that was just amazing. And just the ornateness of the place as well. The thing that took me about India very, very quickly was living our day-to-day lives in Australia. I find, to a extent, we've got beaches, we've got Sydney Harbour, we've got our parks, etc., etc. But I felt when I went to India, I was actually taken back in time, and I wasn't living in, say, one-dimensional 2023 time. To me, when I was going around seeing all these religious sites like ashrams, temples, etc., holy mountains, I felt like I was going back in time because some of these temples, etc., were built 5,000 years ago. And just when you get to these particular places, you just get a sense that you're living in 2023, but you feel as though I felt anyway like I'd been transported back in time. So I'll show you a little bit more of the Taj Mahal. Just a beautiful colour there. The thing I noticed about the Indian people and their religions is they're so colourful, particularly the Hindus. They seem to be, I don't know, they seem to be stand out to me as very, very colourful, both the men and the women, but probably more so the women. Yeah, I think that's the, can you see myself there? I got dressed up in traditional Indian cultural gear for the day that day. You see that one okay?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll go back to that one, Siva. Notice I got the bindi up my forehead, Siva.
Yes.
Okay, so I'll go and net round to another. Oh, there you go. If you have a look down through there, that's towards the end of the day, and I think the sun was starting to go down, but you can still see there's absolutely hundreds of people still in the Taj Mahal. It's probably one of the most pristine places I've ever been to. And to have marble, it's probably over 500 years old, that looks so clean, was amazing to see.
This looks like the India Gate.
Yeah, I'm going to show you a video now and some pictures of what I thought was probably, until then, I think it was the happiest day of my life. It was a Thursday. It was the day before. Actually, it was only 2 days before I flew back to Sydney. The following day, I was going to be in the office in Chennai. So Muralipuram is about 50 kilometres from Chennai in the south of India. And I had this most amazing day at this 5,000-year-old temple called the Shore Temple. and it's called the Shore Temple because it is actually on the shore of a beach. And my friends were absolutely amazed. I was absolutely amazed. I was just inundated by children from private schools all day that day. And this video will show that really clearly. And I really want you to see this because I think the first few seconds, it's a little bit dodgy, this video. It goes for about 3 minutes, but then it corrects itself. I was a bit bigger back then too.
The video hasn't started yet, by the way, Paul.
What's that?
There's no video yet.
Oh, isn't there? I'll find it a different way.
You might have to stop share on this one and start share on the video.
No, I can get it a different way.
Okay.
You can try now.
Just bear with me because it is worth saying.
What's the name of the place? You said 50 kilometers from Chennai?
I'll show you then. Can you see this better?
Not yet.
You'll have to restart screen sharing.
Go to share screen. Okay. Yeah.
How's that now?
But you have to use the sound. If you have to share sound also.
This is Mahabalipuram, I think.
Yeah.
Mahabalipuram. Yes. The beaches are very beautiful with lots of temples. And some
That's right.
All school children. Are you giving something to it?
Is there any sound to the video, Paul?
So you can hear me again, everyone?
yes.
So I think you can see there that the the Australian Christian got on pretty well with the young Hindu teenagers there. What do you reckon? It was pretty special, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I'll now quickly show you. I went and had a second trip in December, and the week before I went back for the second trip in January this year, a couple of months ago, I dropped into the bookshop up at Baha'i, and Samin took me through the bookshop. And when I was chatting to Samin, I told her I was going back to India the following week, and she told me all about the Lotus Temple. So when I decided that moment, I said to Samin, I said, if I can find my way to get from Chennai to Delhi, I'm absolutely going to the Lotus Temple, and I'll make sure that I'll bring back plenty of pictures for you. So now, I don't think Samin's online, but I'm going to deliver on the pictures. So if you can bear with me for a moment, this should be easier.
I'll share this with Samin later.
Yeah. Okay. On that day, this is Vishwa on the left. He's my key man. He's my main employee.
Nothing showing. Sorry, Paul. Nothing.
Oh,
showing
sorry.
It just looks like there, now we can see. That's the previous video.
Oh, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to start. Sorry, really sorry.
By the way, we couldn't hear sound in the previous video. You might have to click share sound if there is sound.
Oh, right. That's unfortunate. That was.
Now we can see the picture. Can you hear us, Paul? I think he's frozen. Oh.
We lost you a bit there, Paul.
Yeah, I dropped right out. I've dropped right out and I had to come back in again. Can you see that screen again now? I'll just show you. All I'll do now to finish off is I'll just show you the bits at the Lotus Temple. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So they're just two people from the office at Axos, Vishwa that works for me, and one of the young ladies who's a Hindu lady who she really wanted to come to see the Lotus Temple. So I got one of the directors to pick someone to go with me, and Vishwa, and she got picked to accompany us both up there. And for those who haven't seen it, here is the magnificent building known as the Lotus Temple. And it really was a absolutely wonderful place to visit. This path here was wonderful. Once again, people of all religions going to visit the Lotus Temple. We took it as an opportunity to get lots of good pics. That's my two mates hanging around together for the day. And as you can see there, lots of colour, mainly Hindu people, but there were definitely Muslims in there as well, and probably a lot of Christians too, I dare say. That water was absolutely magnificent. It was just the clearest turquoise you've ever seen. And that's just a view from up at the temple, outside the temple, as you walk looking back down towards the entrance. It's me. You're one of the pearls, obviously. And that's pretty much the end of my pictures, folks. I've got lots more, but we're probably running out of time. I'm sorry we had a few technical hiccups.
Well, thank you very much, Paul.
My pleasure.
That was enlightening. So this is Hinduism from a Christian perspective, and as a Christian, perhaps I'll just start the discussion. By the way, people, please use the reactions button if you'd like to comment or ask a question. Oh, there's a queue. Lucky I got in first. I was going to ask, how did you feel as a Christian visiting a country with other religions, perhaps for the first time?
Excellent question. I went over there pretty much, I think, with no preconceptions. I had no preconceptions of what the country was going to be physically like. I had no preconception or idea of what it was going to be like from a spirituality point of view. By the end of the first week, I made a farewell speech to these staff at Axos, and I was that emotional about the spirituality, and that's purely what it was. It was the spirituality that I cried at the end of the speech when I was saying goodbye to them. And on my second visit, at the end of the first week, I made a speech, and on my second visit, the spirituality had already got to me by then that much that I cried at the start of the speech, I cried during the speech, and I continued to cry right through to the end of the speech. So that's probably a pretty good indicator of how much the spirituality got to me. I would say I was probably feeling a bit down, maybe even depressed for a week after my first trip. And I definitely felt that strong a spiritual connection with the country and the people as well as the country, that I was probably feeling a bit down in the dumps for about a month after I came back in January. But I found something to replace that little hole in my heart and my soul. You know what it was?
Baha'i Temple.
It was friends like Siva and the Baha'i Temple.
That's nice. Thank you for that. And that reminds me of Les Miserables, the novel by Victor Hugo, where the thief asks the priest why he was crying when he saw him, when he thought he was alone, and he says, crying, and he said, I was in prayer. Right. He said prayer and crying are very closely related.
Yeah, well, I can understand, I can relate to that. I can understand that. I wouldn't have before, but I do now.
Thank you, Paul. All right, Siva.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Paul. Yes, in the description, in the description about Paul, I added the spiritual wayfarer. It was not given by him.
Yeah, I wondered where that came from, Siva. It's a good one.
But my question is that I think in your first slide that you mentioned, your trip to India changed something within you about spirituality. Probably you may not have observed what was happening to you at that time, or you may have, I don't know. But my question is, what actually changed?
Yeah, okay. I've said this a couple of times before, but it is too. It's another great question. And I didn't mention it. I was born into a Roman Catholic family in Newcastle in 1961, and I went right through my high school years to Catholic primary school. I went to a co-educational Catholic school, and right through high school I went to a boys Catholic Morris Brothers school. Very recently, I've attended Catholic church of a Sunday morning. While I was in India during the first trip, something changed in me where my eyes were open to something beyond the Catholic Church. They were open to a book like the Bhagavad Gita, I guess you'd call it the Hindu version of what I still call the Bible. It started a journey for me, Siva. That's the best way to put it. It started a journey, and it's going to be a lifelong journey now. The journey won't finish in 1 or 2 weeks' time. I've still got a lot of books that I bought off Samin that I've still got to read yet.
Yes, I remember you told me that you bought the most holy book, Kitab Yagdas, first time you went to the bookshop.
Yeah. And we haven't actually mentioned how I came across that. I was given that book in India either, Siva. That's a rather nice story. Yeah.
Yes.
For another day.
No, I was surprised when I met you first at the temple that you carried the Bhagavad Gita in your hand.
Yeah, it's got very special relevance to me because it was handed down to me by a family in India after they'd had it in their family for generations. And the father of one of the young directors of this company asked his son to give it to me because he'd noticed on social media, LinkedIn, that I've been saying so much positive stuff about Indian spirituality, that he asked his son to pass on the book from his family to mine because extremely humbly thought I deserved it.
You have the book here?
It's not far away. I can go and grab it. It's
Right.
on my bedside table permanently.
Right. I think there are a couple of other questions. I will let others ask questions.
Yeah.
Hello. Thank you for your beautiful video and all the explanation. The first impression I got is that you were born 5,000 years ago in India. So
Yeah.
you got called back by your reincarnation spirit.
I've contemplated that myself, you know.
Yeah, I thought the way you described that you were born there 5,000 years ago when they built the Taj Mahal, and because you probably one of the builders, the architecture, and now your spirit of the past have caught up with you, so you come back there. If I'm you, I will establish a joint venture business between Sydney and India, Delhi, or I sponsor at least 20 Indian students to come to Sydney to study business here.
That's amazing.
That joint venture, the way we look at it, mutual benefits for both sides, Australia and India.
Right.
And the other thing is, in the old day, you don't really know that people believe in God or call God, because I study about Red Indian in America. In America, United States, they have Red Indians, and right at the beginning, the Red Indians, I don't know if they know God. I don't know if they pray to God or Jesus, because they must be praying to a nature forces, like they look at the moon and the star, the sun, and so they guide them through the nature, like water, wind, and all these things in the elements in the universe. But then they don't really know God, do they?
No.
I'm studying about a great Indian in American history and literature.
That's very interesting.
And so in England, they also have literature and history. When the old people in that day, not Adam and Eve, they don't pray to God like we pray today. They use God in a different concept.
Right. Okay.
So that's how I think about it. In your case, that gave me some story that related to Dalai Lama, who exiled in overseas won a Nobel Prize, but he always thinks about Tibet. He thinks about Tibet all the time. And he
Right.
struggled for Tibet. Just like you were born in Sydney and Catholic, but you think about India.
Yeah.
So just like one of Dalai Lama, teamwork.
Oh, what? Sorry.
You know Tibet and Dalai Lama?
No.
The Buddhist Dalai Lama.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
He won a Nobel Prize.
Yeah.
Nobel. If we speak in French, Nobel Prize. So your story is, for me, like a mysterious story.
Yeah. What you said about.
Mystery.
Yeah, I agree. What you said about the 5,000 years ago and reincarnation, I'd never, ever contemplated that possibility. Now I have no reason to doubt that that's the reason that I have got such a strong emotional attachment to that country.
Thank you. That was your motherland. Thank you. And it will be there forever.
Thank you, Zoe.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Paul, for your presentation. Yes, hello.
Absolute pleasure.
Yes, thank you. I always actually wondering why in India or Indians are they don't mind like any Indian or Hindus maybe. I want you to maybe explain, is that more Hindus who goes to any temples, the place of worship? Like if you go to the, Lotus Temple, you see everybody is there. It's not only Baha'is are there. Or if you go to maybe, the other places of worship, they are there. Like they don't say, or if there is any celebration, everybody joined. What is the reason? Is that the Indians are like that? Or is that the religion made them like India? I think I also was fascinated that they don't have that, because I'm from Iran and religion is like separating people, like this is Baha'i, Muslim, that is that. But I found Indians are not like that. They respect all the the other beliefs. And how did you see that?
I saw that as if you are so right about what your observations been. Definitely when you go somewhere to the Lotus Temple, it's definitely interfaith, but I found Indians in general are very, very religious, to the extent that it does cross over from their personal life into their work lives. Whereas, say, for example, us living in Australia and those of us who are going into offices or whatever work sites of the day, I think us as people, we the average Australian just turns up to work, but I would say that the average Indian turns up with their spirituality and themselves to work every day. There's definitely no separation between them and their religion. They take their religion in their hearts wherever they go.
That's beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah. And just one other thing to answer your question. One thing I noticed is there was one particular ashram that I went to. I forget the name of this mountain, but they refer to it as a holy mountain, and it's quite steep and long. And I actually climbed it in bare feet and meditated in this holy cave once I got to the top of it. But yeah, certainly when I was there, I had a really strong sense of Indian spirituality. I was going to digress. I forget where I was heading to there, so I'll go to the next question.
Yeah. Do you think that is mainly because they respect nature and the religion,
You've just put me back on track to where I was heading. Because I spent so much time in the company of these people traveling, I got to know them very, very well. And it wasn't just one or two people that I met, it was everybody that I met. And they really do take their spirituality everywhere I went, to every site that I went, to every temple I went, to every ashram I went, whether it was a Muslim or a Hindu that was telling me, they knew just about, I could not believe the minutest details they would know about these various sites. Like, they would say to me, there are, on top of this building, there's 9 of something or other, or there's 7 or something else. Whether they were Muslim or a follower of another religion, they knew that much about each other's religions. They were able to tell me the whole history of the 5,000-year-old building. And they wouldn't just tell me for 5 minutes, they'd tell me for the whole hour that I was there. And I just thought, this is just so different to hanging around with Australian kids and school excursion. Yeah, no, it was amazing.
Thank you. Thank you.
Their spirituality and knowledge is amazing.
Yes, thank you. I think it's very hard on people to learn. It's not like if you want to learn or not, they're very strict on learning at school.
Yeah, and it seemed to me too that there's a very strong family influence as well. So I think, despite the fact I went to church with my parents pretty much every Sunday when I was a child, we probably didn't observe religion so much in the home during the week, but over there, I think I'm pretty sure they live it even when they go home.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much.
Amen.
Yeah, hi, Paul. Nice to
Hello.
hear you. I enjoyed it very much. Before I ask my question, I want to rectify something, and that's you thinking that the Taj Mahal was built 5,000 years ago. It wasn't. Taj Mahal was
no. Yeah,
built
no,
in
you're right.
1632, and
Yeah.
I'll just read you a bit about it. The monument began in 1632, was finished in 1648, unverified, but nonetheless tenacious legends attribute its construction to an international team of several thousand of masons, marble workers, mosaicists, and decorators working under the order of the architect of the emperor, Ustad Ahmad Lahori. So it was a king that ordered it. So I think that was imagination going far, that, you going back to your native place and all that. I think that's not really true of incarnation. But probably it was your fate to go. It was written in your fate to go there and experience different faiths and religions. Yeah. So I think it's good experience that you had going there and seeing people of different faiths. Now, I've got 2 questions actually. One is that coming from a background of Christianity and reading about progressive revelation in Baha'i faith, do you think that is a kind of acceptable concept, that various religions are linked and they come progressively? My other question is that looking at Australia with multiculturalism and India with multi-faiths working in harmony together, do you think that unity and diversity of all religions would work for humanity?
That's a big question, isn't it? It's a beautiful concept, isn't it? But
Yeah.
It is a really interesting concept. I think the leaders in the world today, I'm not sure. It'd be good if one of us could pick a leader who would be that inspiring that could help motivate people of the world to adopt the adage of, what is it again? The earth is one nation. The earth
Unity
is
and
one.
diversity.
Yeah,
The earth is but one country, mankind its citizens.
Yeah.
yeah. I think that would be the ideal world. I think that would be the absolutely ideal world, but we'd have to have a leader or leaders who could lead the world down that path. And I can't see that. Unfortunately, I can't see it's possible. All we can do as individuals, I guess, is keep doing what Siva and others have done up at the Baha'i and welcome people like me into the fold up there. We can slowly do it.
Perhaps the way is in grassroots. Grassroots have to change in order that concept of the earth being one country and mankind citizens of it can gather momentum.
I think another of the barriers too is, until my trips, I used to spend more time than I should have on social media, Twitter, etc. And I've got off it since I got back from my last trip to India, because I've found it as just so, some of those social media sites are so toxic. And one of the major things I find offensive about those sites is how atheism appears to be on the rise in the Western world and platforms like that. And if you actually stick your hand up and say you're Baha'i or Christian or whatever, you get shouted down by the atheists these days. So you've almost got to be brave. That's why I started wearing these T-shirts.
Yes.
By the way, which verse of Psalm says that?
What's that again? Sorry?
Which verse of Psalms says be brave?
Psalm 31:24.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
But looking at multiculturalism in Australia and looking at harmony of different people of different religions in India, do you see a glimpse of an opening to this desire of unity of mankind?
I think obviously just my personal view, that the more and more people who are lucky enough to experience what I've experienced in the last couple of months, if there was a wave of that for whatever reason that took off and people had revelations all across the world, who knows, do we need, like, Christians have had their Jesus Christ, and various religions have had other people who they follow, prophets, etc. Do we need another prophet coming back here to get to shake everyone back into take everyone back to religion again? I'm starting to think it's probably highly likely. But obviously, once again, my personal opinion.
Paul, you mentioned the Bhagavad Gita was something which affected you, and I read a book by Bede Griffiths, who was a Benedictine monk in England, who went to India and ended up living there. He passed away probably 30 years ago, but he was kind of a pioneer of Christian Hindu dialogue. And his first encounter with Eastern mysticism was that book, and it was very special to him, the Bhagavad Gita. So I was wondering, what is it about the Bhagavad Gita that people like? What's in there?
It's a pretty heavy read. I've got to say that. First thing I had to say, it's different. It's not like the Bible. How's it not like the Bible? The Bible's sort of like a lot of stories over lots of periods of time. I've found the Bhagavad Gita is more like a bit of a roadmap for living. So yeah, that's where I see the difference. That's why I find it so interesting. It's a bit of a roadmap for living.
Very good. I've read it once a long time ago, and so it's yeah, I agree. It could be difficult, but fortunately, it's quite short. It's just a set of short chapters, and it tells a bit of a story, which keeps it very interesting.
Yeah, it does. Yeah. No, it is very interesting.
Right, Young.
Thank you. I only can provide general ideas. I think you were born in India. You were one of the first born in India land more than 10,000 years ago. India is a spiritual land that Buddha have chosen, that he come down from the universe. He was a Buddha in the universe, but he reincarnated into Indian land because of spiritual land, and he was there. And then he passed away and guided people by his teaching. So you were there around like 10,000, 20,000 years ago. And the time when they built the Taj Mahal, you probably happened to be there too. So you were a very lucky person. That's how I study my theory for you. And the thing that if I'm you, I will bring the Eucharist, the Holy Cross, and the Rosary bead to India, and I will be starting a commission and missionary as a priest, because you were born to be a priest. So you have to forget all about your, past life, present life. You head for future, and your future you will be enlightened like Buddha, like Dalai Lama.
It's funny you mentioned that, because when I was much younger, Young, I was having thoughts about becoming a priest.
Yeah, because I can see, I wonder what the cross on your chest, and I said, that look like a holy cross, or it can look like a sword. The sword are carried by the King of England, King Arthur.
Yeah, I'm sure I could carry a sword as well, Young.
And you are you can say yourself that you are a diplomat. See, you are a diplomat in both nations, and you represent both nations, especially for the younger generation. So therefore, your job, your commission, your mission in life is to provide scholarship program for them and sponsor them out to Australia and America as much as you can.
I'll tell you something now, Young. Can I share something with you now?
Yes. Please. Thank you.
It is very, very, very coincidental that you say that, and what you're doing with those children with the education, because when I was in India on my last trip, I became familiar with a big organization over there called the Art of Living. The Art of Living is absolutely massive in yoga and meditation, a lot of online programs. It's got a lot of money, and it does a lot of pouring money back into various aspects of trying to improve people's quality of life in India. But to cut to the chase, I was due until last Saturday, when I had a meeting like this with some people in Chennai. I was due to go back on the 14th of April, potentially, to swim 10 kilometres of butterfly to raise funds for one of their charities, which provides free education to 41,000 children in India. But unfortunately, we've had to postpone it because the Art of Living has got another program that they're planning to run for the whole of April in the state of Tamil Nadu. So I decided to postpone it because I thought what I was going to do it was going to get watered down a bit. So we'll do it some other time. But I have got a goal there to help with education of children in India.
Thank you very much. It's a big project, because my concern is the children who live in a countryside and the place where they don't get access to clean water. And I has helping to provide some money sent to India to help with clean water. We got some compassion projects. Yeah. The Catholic project, Compassion.
Yep.
So therefore, Caritas, so some money were put in to create pure water for the young children, especially from countryside, like in a peasant's countryside. So this is extremely important for us because they reported every morning, they said, oh, we need some more money for the water. And I said, how's the children going? They have enough clean water? So that is one of the basic things that they will need. And I think most countries will need clean water. Every country will need clean water.
Absolutely. I've got some friends in Newcastle who I know are doing things to try and provide free water up around the Himalayas where they have difficulty getting water, around Nepal and those sort of places.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
Siva.
Thank you. I have two questions.
Two. One at a time, please, Siva.
Before that, I better read the comment by Robert. Robert Patient is there. He put a comment saying that when the Baha'i house of worship was opened in New Delhi, it received the title the Taj Mahal of the 20th century. And people, they started calling it as the Taj Mahal of 20th century.
Okay.
Yes, that
All
was
right.
That was a comment by Robert.
Oh, right. Oh, good. Good on you, Robert. Hey, I'll tell you what, I want to say something quickly to Jung. If I'm reincarnated from 20,000 years ago, I reckon I'm looking pretty good for 60. I reckon I'm looking pretty good for 20,000 years old.
Yes.
You know, one thing, Buddha will never get old.
Okay.
And if you are a bodhisattva, mean you are the right hand of Buddha, you are the young Buddha, you will never get old.
Yes.
Yeah, well, I feel pretty young, I can tell you that.
But you know that bodhisattva is the right hand, like a right hand general of Buddha.
Yeah.
They will never get old. They will never. So
Yes.
therefore, I think because you're also a Catholic, so you are double strength. You got to bring the Eucharist, the Holy Communion, the confession, and all things that you can have. The red rosary or the white rosary, crystal rosary, come and teach all the children overseas. You do the joint ventures and take them out here so they can go to St. Mary Cathedral and study about piano, about music, sing like an angel.
Okay.
I'm going to take on board what you've said to me tonight, Jung. No pressure, no pressure.
Yeah.
Thank you.
The question that
the
question that I was going to ask, because your heart is pure, so you saw the good in others and in the country where you visited in India. There is another side to India. The media. There are a lot of extremist ideas propagated and try to divide the fabric of the Indian community in India. And media indirectly or directly sometimes fall into that trap. I don't know whether you notice that is a worldwide issue, that while people like you and me are trying to bring people together, there are some extremists. They use the social media and the conventional media to propagate division. Do you observe that? And if so, how we can combat that? That's my first question.
When I've been over there, I don't access any of it. I think they use different social media platforms to what we do. Like, I'd never heard of WhatsApp before I went to India. Now I use it all the time. Sivaroy, I can't answer that question because I'm not sure. I have actually got an online subscription to the newspaper, The Times of India, but I find it to be quite factual, and it is different to the Australian media in that it's not reality TV stuff. It is, I have found the Times of India is pretty much just factual information reporting. So apart from the Times of India, I couldn't really comment on any experiences.
Okay, good. I think, yeah, because that's probably your nature. You only see the good in everything. And my second question is that so you have frequented the Baha'i temple in Sydney a few times. What is your experience of the temple and the environment?
I'll actually tell you when I had my first experience, because you might find this interesting as well. I first visited Baha'i temple at Ingleside, Terry Hills, when I was in year 6 in primary school as a Catholic schoolboy, and my nun brought me down there. So around 50 years later, I've rediscovered the Baha'i temple. And what do I see when I go there? Well, the first thing everyone sees is the magnificent grounds and the actual magnificence of the temple itself. But it goes way beyond that. When you go inside the building and you're in silence, I find it's an absolutely, I couldn't think of a better place on earth to go and meditate and pray. And I do both when I go in there. But there's also the sense of the wonderful community that you've started helping introduce me to, Siva, after the services. And mate, there's a wonderful sense of community up there. So it's just a real full package, really, isn't it?
Thank you. Probably you have experienced much more than we experienced.
Maybe, yeah, something overwhelming happened to me in December, and I'm still on that journey.
Thank you. Thank you.
Anja, please.
From your experience in India, to me, it looks like you are more spiritual than the Indians. Unless you have that feeling, no one can, understand the other society. When you go into countries, Western countries and East and all that, unless you are the person searching for spirituality, you won't feel the effect from the outside world. So to me, you are on the track to investigate about spirituality, and on your path, you have come across the right things and principles. So I would rather you continue your journey to investigate the feeling of spirituality. And as you know, you are coming from different religious background. We should respect all the religions and all their teachings, and we should find the path of justice for humanity, and with love and care and humility. That is what I feel. That's my share of my opinion. And the projects to India, education, giving money, charity, people do many, many years. Many people are doing it from Malaysia, from all over the world. But only one thing can change India about their basic needs, essential needs like water, food, and etc. And hygiene, of course. As an Indian, I was there for, on service for a few years, and I have the experience. I worry about their education, their hygiene, water. Basic essentials are not there. Over the years, when British colonized India, up to today, water is a problem, water shortage, education, poverty, diseases. It is never ending. So I believe education alone can change, And when you were at the Lotus Temple, did you come across some activities around the temple? Did they show you the 4 core activities like children's education, junior youth trainings, and some training institutes? Did they show you This is educating the masses, the children, the young generation, so that they will grow up to transform their lives in India itself. The outsiders need not go and do everything and spoon feed them. The change will come within them because they are spiritual people. All they need is a guiding light. So the temple in Lotus Temple welcomes people of all walks of life, all religious backgrounds. So it is a symbol of unity. And I'm sure you felt it at the temple. And I would like to refer to this one quotation. Regard man as a mine rich in gems of inestimable value. Education alone causes it to reveal its treasures and enable mankind to benefit therefrom. So education. So I just briefly state two things. You continue your search, your investigation for a better world, and also consider the kind of spirituality people talk about when they don't have love for humanity. When they see others suffering, they keep talking about their own belief, but they're not there to share and work with people of other groups of religion and race and etc. So I feel you are more religious today when you gave this talk. Thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you. You're all very encouraging, which is wonderful.
Kanya is in Malaysia.
Yeah, I am in Malaysia. I'm of Indian origin. My forefathers came from India.
Thank you, Panja. Ahmed.
Yeah, Paul, you said a few words about atheists and their negativity. Well, I'd like to say that the majority of people on earth believe in a faith or religion. And I'd like to read just 2 paragraphs from Psalms. It says, as the heart panteth after the water brooks, so panteth my soul after thee, O God. My soul thirsteth for God, for the living God. When shall I come and appear before God? My tears have been my meat day and night, while they continually say unto me, where is thy God? When I remember these things, I pour out my soul in me. For I had gone with the multitude. I went with them to the house of God, with the voice of joy and praise, with a multitude that kept holy day. So I think the majority of humanity believes in God and faith and religion.
Yeah, I hope they do. Yeah. They do.
Where was that quote from, Ahmed?
Psalms, book 2, verse 42.
Beautiful.
42:2.
42, 1 and 2, 1 to 4, I think.
I really appreciate the Psalms because quite often people, Christians, whoever, will say that their love started with Jesus and that it was all the law before that. But I think there's a lot of love in the Old Testament, especially the Psalms. Thank you, Ahmed. Sorry.
Thank you for tonight's discussion and talk. I just wanted to but ask about, buildings, the ancient buildings which remain until now, and we go and see, and I just love going to old temples and places of, just to visit. And I wonder, some people, they say, why we spend so much money on buildings, and they are building like so many temples. But I feel that, in the generations to come, they would just love to see things which we have done now. And if it remains for another 1,000 or 2,000 years ahead, would be nice. What do you think about, how did you feel about going up the mountain to see so much of, architecture and things to see, not something which has left for us to go?
once again, another interesting question. It was that mountain, and I'll send a message later on. I'll post a link onto the chat page we use to join into this Zoom, but I'll post a link to this particular mountain so you can check out what it's all about. But I'd heard the stories of my friends that I walked the mountain with before we walked it, and it just became evident to me how holy and it's something my colleagues had done before, but they'd only done once before, and they had done it when they were quite young children. So it's almost like a once in a lifetime experience, even for them, but maybe a 2 or 3 times in a lifetime if you're lucky. So I was joining up those guys on that mountain for what I thought was probably going to be a lifetime experience. So I guess I took off on the journey knowing that. And when they told me that you get a better experience if you actually walk up the granite steps, and they're granite rocks, but they're pretty round rocks, they're not sharp. But I thought it's only going to enhance the experience. And I think, I think you probably walk an hour up the top of the mountain and an hour to come back. So it's not a short walk. And it is fairly steep in parts. And there's monkeys on the hill as well. And I was worried that monkeys were going to jump on my back when I was walking down the hill. Just lost my train of thought briefly. I think when you get in those situations, you can either just treat it as another hill, or you can treat it as though it's a special experience. And I was just lucky enough to recognise that it was a special experience. So I soaked up every opportunity I got, walking the earth in bare feet and meditating in this cave that I forget who it was that used to live in this ashram, and he actually used to walk up the top of the mountain and meditate every day. So he spent 2 hours walking, say, up and down every day to meditate, and I think he did it twice a day. It's just like, if you can imagine what, say, for me as a Christian, the manger that Jesus Christ was born in, that's what I imagine this cave was like, about the size of possibly the manger that Jesus Christ was born in.
Thank you. Thank
you. Paul, just something Anja said reminded me of something which Bede Griffiths said. He was the Catholic who lived in India.
Yeah. And
he was asked to compare Hindu mysticism with Christian mysticism. And his answer was that Christian mysticism has a certain aspect of love and relationship, whereas he thought that Hindu mysticism was more just you and God, becoming enlightened, perhaps feeling very spiritual. But if someone's by the side of the road and they're dying or hungry, then that's karma. So you don't really have to care. That's God working out his justice, which kind of shows the influence of belief on how we feel about the world, I think. But on the other hand, it's all, the thing about interfaith dialogue is everyone can learn from someone else. So Christians can perhaps learn from Hindus how to be tolerant and to accept diversity and see unity in diversity. And perhaps the Eastern religions can look at Christianity and see how important love and relationship is. Just an observation.
We've all got something inside us, haven't we? No matter what religion we are.
Yeah, but then I saw your video and they all looked very happy and they were caring for each other. So
yeah, it's unfortunate. It's unfortunately you couldn't hear the dialogue because it was absolutely amazing. It was riveting stuff. One young girl at one stage, she didn't know how long I'd been in India, but she just said, "Welcome to India." It was just so lovely. Yeah. And you didn't hear either. And others were saying, "What's your name? What's your name?"
Yeah.
Probably they are excited to see you.
Now, you're next, but anybody else, especially if you haven't asked a question yet, there's a little bit of time left.
Me and Kumari, Robert, Vasanta.
I just wonder if, Paul, if you have experience in saving life of people from the ocean, and have you have experience when you pull people out of the water? What sort of experience that you feel? With my experience, when I pull people out from the ocean, I think that the presence of God and the nature forces will help me to help them. Like if I have to pull 3 girls out from the water, including myself, during the surf. So, I mean, you can't do it unless God help you and the nature help you. I mean, you gotta need an ocean wave to push all of you into the shore. So what is your experience there?
Actually, you've asked me the question, so I've got to answer it honestly. I know if you ask the lifeguards, the professional council lifeguards down at Manly, of the 2,000 lifesavers down at Manly, I know they'd tell you that I'd be one of the few at the top of their list that they like working with. And one reason for that was it was Boxing Day a few years ago, probably about 4 years ago now. It was an extremely hot day, and there were thousands and thousands of people at Manly Beach. Quite a big surf, actually very big surf. There were 2 sets of flags on Manly Beach, one the Corso where you walk up from the ferry to the beach, and then down the other southern corner of the beach. So there are 2 sets of flags, and most people that we expect to get into danger tend to come off the ferry and walk straight up the Corso. Anyway, to cut a long story short, this particular day was that dangerous. Saved 6 lives that day, and council guys that were working on jet skis that I was working in partnership with, they saved at least 21. So I'd say between 3 of us that afternoon, we potentially saved 27 lives by rescuing. Some were little children that got swept. And this is something where I can say I think I've been given maybe a God-given gift, is when I'm out in the surfing conditions like that, I can sort of sit back and see things about to happen that other people mightn't see. And I put myself in a position that afternoon. I knew which way the current was running after the waves went into the shore. I was watching out for what was happening when they were reflecting back off the shore. And there were little children, say toddlers, getting washed out of their mother or father's arms. And I just happened to get myself in a position where I was aware that I expected that to happen. So all I was there was doing, I was just there as a catcher. So yeah, I think I've been blessed, luckily, with some God-given gifts. But on the other end of the scale, I'm the last patrol captain down at Manly to have someone die on my patrol while I've been at the beach. And we did perform CPR on him for 35 minutes. He was an American pilot. Unfortunately, had a pulmonary embolism when he was out in the water. And he pretty much died instantly. He was grey from the chest all the way across. I could see it clearly when they brought him back into the beach. He was grey right through the face. But we had a trauma team that came down and chatted with me and the patrol soon after that happened. And after the guy passed away, or was declared passed away at the hospital, some medical personnel, I think the ambulance people, might have come back down to the beach, and they said, you guys did an amazing job. There was nothing you could have done to save the guy's life.
Oh, that was wonderful experience.
Yeah. So I guess I've grown out of that. It could have been something traumatic and tragic, but I know we did everything we could to save the guy's life, and it is part of living, isn't it?
Yes, thank you so much.
Thank you. Very good question. I'm glad you asked.
Yeah.
Robert.
Just a couple of comments. Christianity in India is a very minor religion.
Yeah.
Very, very minor. I was at a service in Sydney years ago. I'm in Melbourne at the moment.
Ah, right.
I was at service in Sydney years ago, and they had a relieving minister from India, and he was saying, he said, we've got Christianity in India, but it's a very, very minor group of people.
Yeah.
It's, as I say, it's mainly Hindu and Islamic. And back in the 70s, I was actually in India in the 70s. I'd actually travelled overland from London to India. And at that time, India and Pakistan were at war with each other.
Yeah.
But interestingly, both the Indian and Pakistan governments gave us permission to cross their borders because we're promoting peace. I was travelling with a party of 180 people from different nationalities and cultures on the Asian highway. And this was founded by a retired Gurkha colonel who believed that one way of bringing peace to the world is getting people from different cultures traveling together and see how the other half lives.
That is so true, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah. 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 But what better way? That's a great way to put my experience, Robert.
Yeah. And also the Art of Living are in Australia, if you're looking for Art of Living in Australia.
Yeah, I've actually been doing courses with them, and it was through doing those courses that I got to hook up with the people in India.
Yeah, because I've done some of the meditation here in Melbourne as well.
Do you know Rohit?
No, I don't.
Rohit or Bindi?
No, there's quite a few of them do all the different meditations.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I'm right into that too, Robert. I think it's great.
Yeah.
Thank you, Robert.
Thank you.
Thank you, Robert.
Yeah, Siva.
You got another question, Siva?
But he's muted.
Hey, can't you wait till Sunday?
It's not a question. I actually shared on the chat as well as in the WhatsApp group about the shore temple that you visited. So the link in Wikipedia, and I just want to show you this Baha'i temple, a lotus temple video on Facebook. How people were visiting.
It's also the Indian temple is the Indian government take all their VIPs from overseas to the house of worship as well.
Yes. Can you see the video? These are people visiting in queue to visit the Baha'i temple in India. Yes. That's just a glimpse of people trying to visit the lotus temple. Anyway, thank you. And now I think it is time to close our meeting.
Just one question, Paul. How did your fast go last Sunday?
Oh, me?
Yeah.
How did my what go on Sunday?
Fasting.
Oh.
You refused to have any refreshment at the temple.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that was the Sunday before, wasn't it?
Yeah. On the 5th or sorry.
Yeah, no, I did well that day. I won't say I did as well the following Sunday.
Yeah, he was there, and I wanted to, I said, I'm fasting, I can't eat, but can I get you something? He said, oh, you are fasting, then I will fast. And he didn't.
Yeah. I couldn't let the team down, Siva. I'm on your team.
Anyway.
Team Siva.
Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. That was excellent.
Thank you very much.
By the way,
Ave Maria.
By the way, Paul, Colin actually serves at the National Center, so sometimes he will be there.
Yeah, right.
So you can catch up with him.
Oh, wonderful stuff.
Yeah, my office is just next to Simen's office. So,
oh, right. I'll drop in next time I'm in. I'll get her to introduce me to you.
Excellent. Okay.
Wonderful
good.
stuff. It might be tomorrow.
Look, make it after Tuesday, so I can offer you a cup of tea.
Okay.
Okay.
You got to.
And
What do you got to
Paul,
order in more? Have you?
please, Mr. Paul, can you bring the Bible and Rosie Beat to India?
Yes, he is.
The
You got it.
Bible, the
You got
Bible,
it.
the Eucharist, the Holy Communion, the bread, the wine, and you need to give them some teaching so they understand your points of view too.
He
That's
is.
a two-way communication.
You've.
Okay.
That's an absolutely marvelous suggestion. I will be doing that, Yung.
And you are the diplomat, I know that.
On the 21st, Paul, you can come to the temple. It's a New Year celebration, so there will be a service at 11 o'clock if you are free.
I'll be there.
On Tuesday.
I'll be there.
Okay.
Okay,
Thank
see
you.
you.